it's all yours.
Sure thing. So I'll just share my screen and get right to it. As Anton mentioned, this is the second part. This is part 2 of my SEO guide. I did have the part 1 about a month ago or a few weeks ago, so you can go see the part 1. Anton will have the web address for that. And also I have it on my YouTube channel as well. So this is my SEO guide of what not to do, all the demoting algorithms that are going to trip you up and keep you back from ranking. First off, who am I? That's me. My name is Josh Bachynski. I've been doing SEO, digital marketing, branding, web design for about 16 plus years. You can contact me there at my email address, and that's a picture of me for the TED Talk I was doing. As I mentioned, I did a TED Talk in Northern Ireland last year in November. And that's the title of my documentary that it's coming out in the next couple of months called Don't Be Evil, all about Google. But I'm not talking about today. Today I'm talking about rankings and how to rank. I've been doing SEO, as I said, for quite some time. I have contacts with Google, or I used to, and now maybe they've been rekindled, I'm not sure. And I do a lot of experiments and do a lot of research in SEO, and so I do a lot of courses on SEO. And so for 2016, I've been paying very close attention to what Google has been doing, and this is how I would boil it down. So this is kind of the information from the last video, the how to rank video, and this is how I would boil it down. It really comes down to you want your site to be popular. And the more popular you are, the more you're going to rank for that topic. So here, I just want to show you the right-hand side here, all the red stuff here. This is what you want to get off-site, and the stuff on the left-hand side is the stuff you want to do on your site. So the stuff on the right side, topical mentions. So these are kind of ye olde links, but also no-follow links, text mentions, brand mentions, URL mentions. I think that Google's tracking all that. I have the proof to prove that in my another video that I can show you the proof for that if you want. Social shares I think are very important. Again, I have some proof to show that there's good boosts for getting, if you go viral on Twitter, if you go viral on Google+, even if you go viral a little bit on Facebook, at least on the public pages that Google can read, that definitely seems to affect ranking and help ranking. But not only that, but also the smaller social networks like Reddit, and I use the word smaller in quotations because Reddit is not a small social network by any stretch of the imagination. But Reddit or Imgur, stuff like that, if you get posts on there, and I have, and I can, you can get really good signals from that. Brand searches and variations. This is kind of, I said this in my previous video, I said this is kind of the link for 2016. It's very important to get brand searches. People searching for your brand. You know, part of the reason why Walmart is outranking you is because 1 million people searched for Walmart last month, and only 10 searched for you. And, you know, only 30% clicked on your site, and the other, you know, 7 people clicked on your Facebook page or something, right? So there's a clear signal there of what people want. And again, another 1 million people searched for variations of Walmart, like Walmart space shirts or Walmart space pants. That tells RankBrain, the new ranking algorithm for Google, or one of them, that this is a much better result. You know, if they're looking for shirts, they're looking for Walmart shirts. Not only is Walmart a good website to rank, but it's good to rank for shirt-related queries. If you remember, Hummingbird came out in 2013, and Hummingbird is kind of their new semantic latent indexing algorithm that tells them all the entities of what's related to what. That Walmart is a supplier of shirts and pants and things like that, and they get that partially from the brand searches. Then the social profile proof. That's having activity on your social profile. You have comments, you have likes, you have people interacting, you have reshares, you have stuff like that. Remember the way the authorship markup used to work? If you have the URL of your social pages on your index page, and then on your social pages you link back to your website, that provides a reciprocal kind of connection. And the first video I did for Anton was my correlation study video, which shows a very high correlation with rankings for any website that did this, that had link outs to their social profile. And finally, you want good ratings and good reviews. Again, I have this good correlation to show that if you have good ratings and good reviews, this is going to be good for your rankings. And so these last three things here, the brand searches and variations, the social profile proof, and the good rating reviews, that mostly points at the site in general. And remember, you want your site to be super fast. It has to be a modern design, a professional looking site. They have to get what they want under 3 seconds. You don't want any pogo sticking back and forth between pages on the site or internal bounce, because I believe Google is tracking that, and I think there's some evidence to show Google's tracking that. And finally, given the answers I got yesterday, and the amount of the amount they talk about task completion, and finally, on the page in particular, on-page SEO is still as important as it used to be. The page URL has to talk about what it is they're going to find there. The title has to have the keywords in it and why they should click. So it shouldn't be red apples, pipe, red apple, pipe. You know, buy red apples. It should be, wow, get the top red apples here, 2016. So it's a call to action. It builds value, increases your click-through rate. The H1 and only one H1, one heading at the top, tells them what is on that page and why to get it. Like 2016's best red apples. Red apples is my generic product example, by the way, for those of you who don't know. Anyone who does listen to me knows that I say it all the time. That's my generic example. And finally, the content is on that page. We're just mentioning the red apples, the product, or whatever you're trying to rank for, just once or twice, not too much more than that. Don't stuff it full. Don't put the other stuff I'm going to talk about. I want to talk about what not to do. I'm going to talk about that in a second. And you want to try and get a really high conversion and add in the scale. So that is, in a nutshell, what I covered in the last video. And that, in a nutshell, is what you want to do. So, you might say, well, that sounds easy. Great. Thanks, Josh. That's fantastic. It sounds very easy. However, there are these demoting algorithms that are going to put you in the Google jail if you go too far and you do too much, or you don't do the right thing as far as Google is concerned. They're going to, they have punishing algorithms. They're going to find you because you're breaking their rules. Or you're just going too far, providing something they don't think is quality enough, and they're kind of the internet police as far as they're concerned, and so they're going to put you in ranking jail. So I'm going to go through these punishment algorithms as far as we know, these penalizing algorithms, and I'm going to tell you what not to do, and there's quite a few of them. And so if there's any questions, just either interrupt me as I go, and I will Alt-Tab back to make sure I'm still in the Hangout. I'm checking now. I see your faces. There we go. I'm still here. Fantastic. And either ask me as I go or I'll answer at the end. Okay. So here's the first fuzzy creature that we have to worry about, and it's called Panda. And in my opinion, it is the single biggest demoter algorithm moving forward. It's the single biggest algorithm we need to worry about moving forward. Quality is the most important factor for Google, and Panda is the algorithm that best assesses quality, and so it is their biggest algorithm. It's part of the core algorithm. I think it's powered by RankBrain. I think there's plenty of evidence to show that, and it just makes sense. And let me explain why. So Panda, if you will forgive the observation or the metaphor, Panda is kind of like, I used to say the Nazis, but now I say Panda is like Trump banging on your door, and he checks every house in the country every month, and he does so unannounced. He's looking for the low, quote-unquote, low-quality items, that what he thinks are low-quality items, and then he throws them out. So if you'll forgive the metaphor, but that's kind of how Panda works. It runs unannounced, and it checks your entire site for quality, and it will demote the entire site. It will punt it out of the index, out of the rankings anyway, if it doesn't look like it's high quality enough. But what does it look for? Well, I believe it's based on two things. It's based on usage metrics and on-site factors. I have a list of the complete factors I think it's based on here on my website at themoralconcept.net/pandalist.html. And the older Panda of like 2011, I think, was just solely based on on-page factors for the most part. Now I think it's based mostly on usage metrics. And remember, it's automatically updating in 2016. It's called part of the core algorithm. I think it automatically listens to search queries, what you type in, what you click on the site, and if you finally convert. And I think that's how it works. And it basically gets that's how it assigns a quality score for your site based on how much users complete their tasks on your site, which is exactly what the 2012, the new Panda patent, which was followed by Google, talks about doing, that calculating a quality score based on user actions in relation to a query on a site. So I think that's exactly what they're doing, and there's plenty of other evidence to show that's the case. And so remember, there's many quality algorithms.
Josh?
Yes.
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
Do you think they're using Google Analytics data for this behavior kind of ranking factor?
No, I don't believe they are. Actually, Andre, in one of Anton's Hangouts, actually, he mentioned that they're not using Google Analytics data. And in my opinion, I'm reading between the lines of what he said, so this is my opinion interpreting what he said. But the way he put it, it seemed to me that they have used the analytics data in the past. They've talked about using the analytics data, but I think they just use it to check, to make sure their other abilities to check your metrics are valid. So I don't think they're using it in the regular rankings because not enough sites have it installed either to use it in the regular rankings. But I think they have used it, and he has mentioned that it is possible for them to use it. They have used it, but he says they don't use it in the regular rankings because they don't need to. They can get, they know, and I'm quoting him, he said they know the full desktop user story. That's a quote, the desktop user story. They know that fully. He says we already know that fully from search query to conversion.
Does that mean that they're using Chrome?
Yes, I personally believe they're using Chrome. I have reasons to believe this is the case. Quite frankly, I have contacts in the black hat industry who have put packet sniffers on their computer to sniff the packets that are going out from the computer, and they see that there's a bunch of packets going out to Google, and they figured out it was the Safe Browse feature. Safe Browse is not only in Chrome. Safe Browse is in a couple of browsers, a number of browsers, and they recently just brought it out to mobile. Safe Browse is that feature that when you click on a website, it compares the URL to a big database of malware websites, and if it comes up the same, it puts up the red screen of death and says you can't go to this website, it's malware. In order to do that, they have to check every URL you go to when you click on it. So they know the links you're clicking, they know the pages you're going to, they know the time between it takes for you to go from page to page. They don't need to check your Google Analytics. And they just recently moved that over to mobile as well. So they had other mechanisms on mobile, like just checking on-page factors, like your tap targets are too small, these kinds of things. They don't need that anymore because now they can tell user actions on that particular page as well. So this is what I believe, and I believe it just makes sense to believe this. And the upshot is to fix it is just to make your site better, which is going to make you more money anyway. So. And how would you fix it? Well, this is how you would fix it. Now, this is a distillation of my Panda list on my website. Again, it takes me an hour to go through that entire list, so if you're interested, please go through it yourself on my website. But just as a distillation, just to quickly go over it, you have to make sure your users are satisfied and they're converting over 60%. I know a lot of people will scoff at a 60% conversion rate, but that's the target. I would go for that. Get as high to that as you can as possible, and I can get that. I can get 60%, 70% conversion rates on my websites. If I can do it, you can do it. You might also want to be lower in the sales funnel as well. That is a whole nother ball game. If you're lower in the sales funnel, then your conversions are going to be higher because the users have much higher buying intent. Not only that, if you're doing proper keyword research, then your users are going to have higher buying intent as well, because I can show you how to do keyword research with marketing data built in, so you know which queries have the highest conversion possible. You want to make sure your website has professional finishing. It has to look professional. It has to look modern. It has to make people trust you like you're a slick, a rich business. It does well. You have to have the legitimate business signals, such as your address, your contact information on every page, a company directory, actual human beings who work for you. Make yourself look like a real business. There's some studies to show that outlinking to authority websites in your field still helps. It's still a quality factor. And you want to be shared, liked, reviewed, and rated positively. What you don't want is to have a boring blog. I cannot stress how important it is not to have a boring blog on your website. This is exactly what Panda was originally made to destroy, because it was a huge and used to be a big SEO factor, a big SEO tactic that people used to use. I know this is coming as news to some people, maybe not in this Hangout, but in general, some people still think a blog is a good thing to do when you're a plumber or you're a chiropractor or something like that. The answer is a resounding no. Not unless you're willing to spend, many thousands of dollars a month to have essentially the best possible blog on your topic that beats out, Forbes magazine level of quality. Otherwise, it's not going to help you rank for the queries you want to rank for. You want to be lower in the sales funnel anyway, because you need a higher conversion, because Google's algorithms the logic of Google's quality algorithms are pointing everyone to higher and higher conversions. He who converts best will rank the best eventually, very shortly. You don't want to add superfluous keywords. You used to add superfluous keywords in there to get yourself ranking for red apples, queries, and things like that, and to try and just stuff keywords in there. You don't want to do that anymore. Again, that as well is exactly what Panda was made to destroy. You don't want to have a bad reputation. There's a couple algorithms that might have a problem with that, not the least of which is something called the bad merchant algorithm. They released that a couple of years ago. I believe in 2013. It will find any sites with a bad reputation. I'll talk more about that in a little bit. You don't want to annoy users with ads. There's another algorithm called the I don't know what Google calls it. I call it the too many ads above the fold algorithm. You don't want to have too many ads above the fold of your web page, above the where people, the only thing they see is ads when they go to that page. Not only that, but you don't want to have pop-ups or interstitials coming up, because that's going to annoy them and make them bounce from your website, and that's going to be bad. You don't want to have any affiliate links. That is to say, you don't want to have any naked do-follow affiliate links. At the very least, you want your affiliate links to be no-followed. Even better, I would cloak them. I would hide your affiliate links from Google. They have an irrational and, in my opinion, unethical dislike of affiliate links. So quite frankly, I would put them in a iframe and robot out the iframe so they can't see the link. Or at least that's the best way I can think of them not seeing the link. Because quite frankly, if you have a low-quality site and affiliate links on it, I guarantee you're never going to rank. Remember, I've said already, you should have a high-quality site. I'll continue to say you should have a high-quality site. So I will always take the white hat path first, but just because it's less risky, not for any other reason. But that is as it is. Another thing that John Mueller from Google has mentioned a number of times, you don't want to have URL parameters in your navigation or as canonical URLs. They seem to have another irrational dislike of URL parameters. They've called it cruft. They've said that there's a problem. It makes their algorithms, at the very least, it makes their algorithms have to compute as to what should be the canonical page. And they know of over 40 trillion web pages out there. Think of that number for a second. They know of over 40 trillion web pages on the web. And processing costs them money. Every CPU cycle costs them like 0.000000001 cent. But with the trillions and trillions and trillions of CPU cycles they do, that adds up, right? So all the processing they do, the bigger the internet is, the bigger the web is, the more links there are, the more they have to process, the more it costs them money. And so they have a fetish to restrict all pages down and collapse all pages down, and they have an impetus, a business impetus, to collapse all pages down into canonicals, so they have to do less processing. And apparently they've made the decision that URL parameters, especially session ID URL parameters, they'll ignore those kinds of things, and it does seem to be some kind of a quality problem. John Mueller has mentioned that a number of times. Plus, there's also a negative SEO exploit, which I'll talk about later on as well. And again, as I said, you do not want to have a bad design or invalid HTML. The Web Raiders guidelines recently was changed to say you do not want to have invalid HTML. You don't want to have broken schema, and you don't want to have a bad design. Okay, here's the next warm and cuddly creature we have to worry about. It is called Penguin. Penguin with an exclamation mark. Penguin! Just like Jeb. Penguin is their web spam or their over-optimization algorithm. They've called it both, the web spam and the over-optimization algorithm. It works both on on-page factors and off-page over-optimization. It does have on-page factors. John Mueller has confirmed this numerous times, but it is mostly link-based, I'll admit, and it's mostly on the off-page over-optimization of the pages that link to you, including the anchor text and the keywords on that particular page. I've done a lot of research into Penguin, and it really does seem to be a simple exact match query in the backlink page, a correlation to the exact match queries on the target page. So what seems to matter there is, like, for example, let's say I have buyredapples.com. I'm trying to sell the product Red Apples. If let's say I fire up ye olde mini sites or ye olde backlink sites, my own backlink blogs that I run for myself, and I over-optimize those pages for selling red apples and buying red apples, and then the anchor text says buy red apples and points to buyredapples.com, those are exactly the kinds of sites that were hit by every version of Penguin. And I have no reason to believe the new version of Penguin is going to be any different. And as I said, for your on-page, when you're removing the over-optimization, not only do you want to remove the bad backlinks, but it's going to include your title and alt attributes. Those are little attributes that go in the image tag or the anchor tag. Your title tags, which go at the top, your URL, your content, and your anchors, so that over-optimization for keywords exists in all those places. And like I said, it's page-based. It seems to work like negative link juice. You know, it's just like if you go over a certain threshold, it just the page rank seems to invert and not boost you, but demote you. And that seems to flow from the index page or whatever page you are linking to any other page that links to it. It was page-based. The previous version were page-based. They could very well make the new version site-based. And it is punitive. Now, they're working on a version right now. It's supposed to be real-time when they come out with it. And I want to warn you that the disavow file might not do anything. I'll talk about that in a second. Actually, I'll talk about that now. So I've also done a lot of research into the disavow file. In fact, I've gotten into a wee bit of trouble for it. If anybody ever says that, if anybody ever claims that I'm just hard against Google, this is wrong. I'm an equal opportunity offender. I will put the blame anywhere where I see it. And so this includes other SEO consultants who are selling a disavow solution, and other businesses that are selling a solution where you can analyze your backlink profile and auto-generate a disavow list and upload that. The upshot of what I'm saying is this. There is absolutely no evidence. I've polled all those people. I've looked at all the results. I've checked over 50 sites at this point. There is absolutely no evidence to suggest the disavow file does anything currently. And all the evidence from what Google has been saying seems to suggest the disavow file is not going to do anything for this future version of Penguin. It is simply a mechanism for two things. And this has been directly admitted by Google in one way or another. It is simply for their machine learning to tell them to run through right brain to process what backlink pages are spammy as dictated by the SEOs who put stuff in the disavow file. And it was also a mechanism to put links in for their manual process, for their manual team when they're doing reconsideration requests. Anytime a site was sent to me, and you can check this, I made a video about this. In fact, I made a Whiteboard Friday for Moz, the second Whiteboard Friday I made for them. And it will probably be the last Whiteboard Friday I make for them. I did some research into all those people on Moz's websites that they said they were saving his websites from disavow, and I showed how they didn't have the evidence to show that. That anytime they did a disavow, there was also link loss and link deletion. So they can't say it was actually a disavow file. All they can say is I did both link loss and deletion and a disavow file, and these sites seem to get better, even though Penguin didn't rerun. So I don't see how that's possible. But they can't say it was a disavow. All they can say is that they deleted and disavowed and something happened. And any number of other things happens, like a bunch of Panda releases, unmentioned Panda releases, unmentioned algorithm releases. So it was difficult at best. In fact, the vast majority of the time someone used a disavow file, their rankings actually got worse. So I say don't use a disavow file. If that is the case, how do you remove it? Well, you can remove your on-page keyword repetition. That would be a good idea in your title tags, your title attributes, your URL, your content, your anchors. And you need to delete the vast majority of your exact match query backlinks. Any client I have had or anybody I've tried to help with Penguin who has gone and deleted these backlinks, they have gotten better. They have gotten better.
Josh, I just got one question.
Yeah.
It says remove on-page keyword repetition.
Mm-hmm.
Do you mean the density?
Yes.
Okay, what?
I mean, not only the density, but the density doesn't necessarily matter because they're using TF-IDF, term frequency, inverse document frequency. So it's a more complex calculation than simple keyword density. Just like the Spearman's correlation coefficient is a more complex mathematical formula than a simple statistic, for example. But long story short is you want to remove the keyword density from the key spots. Right? So you want to remove the keyword density from the title alt attributes, the title tags, the URL, the content, and the anchors, wherever you can remove it there possible, and the content as well. So it's not just the content, it's the entire HTML page.
Okay, no, my apologies, I'm not getting one point. For example, if I'm using a keyword, let's take an example. If I'm using a keyword Samsung, this means I'm not supposed to use that keyword on my title, on my URL, on my content altogether, or you mean to say that I do not need to repeat the Samsung keyword again in my content?
I'm saying if you want to remove Penguin, and only if you want to remove Penguin, and you've diagnosed Penguin, you think you have Penguin in your site, and all those kinds of things, then yeah, you need to get rid of the superfluous keywords. So if you have Samsung in your page URL, great, but don't go have it in your title and alt attributes as well, and don't say it 50 times in your text.
Okay, good point.
But most importantly, for getting rid of Penguin, you need to delete those exact match query backlinks. I'd say the vast majority of them, over 80%. And as I said, you can try disavow if you like, but it's not going to help you. If anything, it's only going to hurt you. In fact, I have some recent evidence to suggest it might be a low-quality factor. They might be using it as a low-quality factor. It's coincidental, but it is possible. Or you have to 404 or delete the target page, and then the Penguin flag on that page will be gone. So the question is there any other way of getting rid of Penguin? There might be. There could be other little ways of getting rid of Penguin that I happen to know about. I have to keep them quiet. So if you want to know what these are, by all means contact me and I'll see if I can help you out. But as I said, there's a new version of Penguin coming out, and so everything is kind of up in the air. We need to find out how this new version of Penguin is going to react. Yes, I know of another way, so contact me. However, as I said, and please don't do this, do not disavow ahead of time thinking that's going to help you. As I said, there's no evidence to suggest that it will. In fact, the vast majority of sites that disavow ahead of time, they get hurt. Their rankings go down. I would try other methods before you disavow. All right, here's the next no-no that's going to get you into trouble. Paid links. Paid links, affiliate links, and advertorial style links. They are, of course, looked for by Google's manual team. That includes the questionable borderline spam links as well they look at. Remember, in 2012, as of 2012, they had over 12,000 manual reviewers in India. I don't know if they still have over 12,000 manual reviewers in India, but as of 2012, they did. Their algorithms bubble up suspect spams, spammy links, and things like that, and the spam form, the web spam form submissions, and they act on those. And interestingly enough, coming out of SMX West recently from San Jose, they publicly admitted that they act on the vast majority of these spam form submissions. So like 70 or 80% of the spam form submissions, they take action on, and they've actually leveled a manual penalty. So keep that in mind for your competitors. It's a great negative SEO tactic. What to avoid for paid links so your competitors can't do this to you? Well, these are the kind of links you want to avoid. You want to avoid sidebar links, footer links, directory lists, blog rolls, sitemap links, a compilation of sources style link, that's quoting John Mueller, on page or off page. Again, you want to avoid, these are all the kind of links where people have gotten manual actions that scream paid link, because you're sticking a link in the sidebar, the footer, etc. And you don't want these pointing to you, and you don't want to have them on your site either, because they can be a problem either way. At best, these links are devalued. At worst, they're going to trigger a manual action for your site. While we're at it, what are the other kind of manual actions that Google does? Well, the kind of manual action you're going to get is also called a penalty from Google. Again, as I said, they come from the manual web spam team. There are 6 or more types of manual actions. I'm not going to go through them all. They are listed in Search Console under your search traffic. You must have Search Console installed to see them. Remember, Search Console is what used to be called Webmaster Tools. If you don't have Search Console installed, you can't see these penalties from Google. And the 2 most important ones are the unnatural link notices, or the 2 most common anyway. And remember, there's 2 different kinds of unnatural link notices. There's the action versus site, and there's they take the action versus the links. I repeat, there's the one where they put an action on the site, and there's a one where they put an action only on your links, a few of your links. Well, what do you do versus site? Well, if you get an action versus your site, you have to delete the links that they think are paid. You have to show good faith in your reconsideration request. You have to disavow the rest of the links that you could not delete, and you have to submit for reconsideration. You can get out. You can get out, but there's a few caveats. One, you need to make them believe you will never do it again. I repeat, they will never let you out unless you make them believe in your reconsideration request and in the diligence of your effort that you will never do it again, that you've gone and deleted a good chunk of those links, and the ones you didn't delete and disavowed, clearly it was difficult for you to delete them, and these people are just not answering you, and you tried on 3 or 4 separate occasions or something like that, or at least that's what it should say in your Excel file. And if you're a first-time offender and you show good faith and you make them believe you'll never do it again, you can get out. If you're a second or third-time offender, give up. Delete your website and make another one, because they will never let you out again. However, even if that is the case, versus links, how do you get out of that? You don't. You don't do anything versus links. When you get an unnatural link notice action taken on a couple of your links, it's just that. They take an action on a couple of your links that look spammy to them. So what do? Nothing. You don't do anything. It's just a warning to change. It's a warning to say, hey, either these people are doing negative SEO against you, or your SEO, your previous SEO, or you guys are making links that look suspect to us. We've taken action on these links. Don't do that anymore, is what that is saying. Now people say to me, but Josh, my rankings went down when I got that notice. And I say, yeah, because they removed those links from your link profile. Don't go add more links to the link to the disavow file and throw more links on the fire, because your rankings will go down even further. If it does anything at all, your rankings are going to go down even further. So that's not a penalty you can get out of. That's just, they saw a few of your links pointing to you, they didn't like it, they removed them. They're gone. That's it. Forget about it. They're gone. So versus links, do nothing, because there's nothing you can do to fix it. Duplication. Duplication is also an issue. Now, is there a duplicate content penalty? No, there's no such thing as a duplicate content penalty. Google is very quick to remind us of that because they want to appear to be so nice. However, there are problems with duplicate content. One, it does force Google to choose which page to rank. As I said, this costs them money. Every time you make them make a choice, it eats up CPU cycles, and that eats up money for them. So you are forcing them to choose what page for Google to rank, and they are going to trust sites like this less and do less. Question?
Okay, Josh, I got one more question. It's
Yeah.
regarding duplicate content.
Yeah.
according to you, what your presentation says, that duplicate content does not put you on any penalty in Google, right?
I wasn't done yet.
Oh, okay.
Give me a couple seconds. It's coming. Let me talk for a couple seconds and ask your question again. So no, there is no penalty called the duplicate content penalty. I believe Google when they say that. I believe them when they say that. But as I said, it does cause ranking problems. It forces them to choose which page to rank. And remember, they're always going to choose the one with the legacy, trust, and the authority. If someone scrapes your article and puts it on Forbes.com or puts it on Huffington Post, they're going to choose Forbes.com or Huffington Post, most likely, unless you are a very high authoritative site and they spider you very quickly and things like that. Finally, John Mueller has admitted that they trust sites with duplicate content less. So I do believe it is a factor in their quality algorithms, quite possibly Panda. So that's the answer to your question. There is no duplicate content penalty per se, but he has said, and this is a quote, he has admitted that they do trust sites with cross-domain duplicate content less, and he has talked recently about canonical issues and duplicate content issues with URL parameters, and that's a quality issue as well.
Okay, this means if I post a content on my website, which is abc.com,
yeah,
okay, and somebody picks it up and publishes it on Mashable, okay, so the Google is going to give ranking to Mashable, but would not give it to me, even though if I am the authority for that content.
They can. This has happened in the past. They can. Now they do have protections in place to try and not do that. They're using machine learning to try and get a better idea of when you publish your content, how often you publish it, what kind of content you publish, who publishes it, what name is it published under, and what your authority is and how trustworthy you are and how quality of a site you are, how much keyword stuffing you use. They use all those factors to determine, and probably more, to determine who is publishing what when, to attribute that that content to the proper authority. But there are always edge cases, and you might not be that high quality, and you might not publish that regularly, and you might not have a name on
just
it.
short comment, but Reese, it's exactly like in a live.
And then now, because I'm getting confused here with the duplicate content stuff, because I'm a content writer, right? Why I'm asking you this again? Because in 2014, I guess there were a couple of algorithms came up which penalized a lot of websites because of so-called duplicate contents. Okay, the website they did get penalized because they were having duplicate content. Now the question comes up: even if we create a blog or something which is 100% original unique content, and one blog that has nothing in it, it's all duplicate, AdSense would Google would, especially on the AdSense part, would say, okay, fine, they have duplicate content, we would not be giving them the AdSenses, but to the original content. Even if it's less than 10% of duplicate content, we usually get like penalized for that. So now I'm a bit surprised that you're saying duplicate content does not lead to any of the penalties. But what we have been learning from Google in the past, that duplicate content is the worst. Do not do duplicate content at all.
So no, there's a couple of mistakes. So what you're saying is not quite what I said. But let me ask you this question. So you said you learned from Google that duplicate content is the worst. How exactly did you learn this? Who at Google told you this, and what did they say exactly?
I tell you something. I got two blogs. Okay, I used to have two blogs. One was the content in which it was the duplicate content that usually comes up, and we post that. Okay, just for learning purpose, and the same structure was for another blog. In that, we never used to do that. We used to write each and every single piece of word, and it was 100% plagiarism passed out. The website in 2014, which has a duplicate content, got penalized for reason for duplicate content and all those things.
Okay, so I'll stop you there. I'll stop you there. So you think it's for duplicate content, and the duplicate content could have been one of the factors, but you don't know that. That's why I asked you why you thought that. Like if somebody from Google has come and told you there is such a thing as a duplicate content penalty, and you have it, well, then that's something else entirely. But all the information I have from Google and all the information the rest of the industry has from Google is that there is no duplicate content penalty. But John Mueller has admitted, so I'm not just, but we're talking about the same thing, because John Mueller has admitted, as I said in my slide, that they do trust sites with duplicate content less. So that's not to say it's benign, but there is no duplicate content penalty per se.
Duplicate, now I'm getting your point, means duplicate content penalties is a myth.
Yes.
Oh, all right. Okay. This means I need to say
but that's not to say it's benign. That's not to say it's benign, because as he said, one, it does force Google to process your site more and decide what page to rank, and they do trust sites with duplicate content less. So there's no duplicate content penalty. Duplicate content is a part of Panda. You see?
Okay, this means if I'm not passing out the plagiarism test for 10% or 20%, still I can post my content because it doesn't have to do anything with the duplicate content with the penalty for the Google, right?
No. I mean, the upshot is no, you shouldn't have duplicate content. It is a factor in Panda. It's a low quality factor. It's not going to help you in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, if you pick me up, because I've been talking to a lot of people around the world with the blogging stuff, we take duplicate content very seriously. We have this doubt in our mind, so-called, that it's a duplicate content, your website is gone. That's it. Forget about anything, you're being penalized just because you have a duplicate content. That was my thinking 10 minutes ago, which is not anymore. So thank you very much for that.
No problem. Like I said, there's no duplicate content penalty, and your website might not be done, but if Google already knows of that content somewhere else, unless you are a much more authoritative website, that duplicate content's not going to help you. The only caveat, there is a caveat to that. The only caveat is that duplicate content doesn't matter as much in different ranking niches. So for example, if you have a duplicate page in a chiropractor site in Boston and a duplicate chiropractor site in Los Angeles, they both can rank just fine in Boston and Los Angeles. Even though they have the one strike against them for in the Panda, like in a list of like low quality Panda factors, you have maybe a 5 strike out system. They already have 1 strike against them being duplicated. But because the local rankings rank so highly on location, that chiropractor can still rank highly in Boston. That chiropractor can still rank highly in Los Angeles.
Okay, this means if I have an extension for abc.com, I have one content over there, and the other domain that I have TLD is abc.us, I can use both the same content on the same websites. Like I can use the .com content on .us website.
No, I'm afraid not. So even if you use the hreflang, to specify this is the US version of the site, this is the UK version of the site, this is the whatever version of the site, they can't be exactly duplicate content, because then you have to use the US spelling and US money and whatnot. You have to use the UK spelling and the UK money and whatnot. You still have to do that even if you're doing the hreflang. So they can't be completely duplicated.
Okay, all right, thank you. Good point.
No
Thank
problem.
you.
So I'll keep going there, Anton. Sound good? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Actually, it was we were talking about if somebody bigger take your content, put on his site, and everybody would believe it's his. It's like in life. If I write something and tomorrow, well, I don't know, John Mueller will publish it under his name, who would people believe? Yeah, John Mueller, obviously.
Yeah, like I said, they've gotten much better, and they have a lot of different algorithms to determine little sneaky things to determine who's published what. But they don't tell us what those sneaky things are on purpose so that we can't scrape them. But they've gotten much better at doing it, but they're not perfect. They're not perfect. So what can you do for duplicate content? And here's some tricks you can use to make sure that doesn't happen to you. You can use, and so this is coming both from my own research and straight from Google, some of these. You can use PubSub, Hubbub, or Xindexer or Search Console to get your content spidered right away so Google knows it's from your site. You can use a right-click copy and paste to view the source, and view source blockers to stop those people who are just copying and pasting it and not people who know what they're doing. You can use Copyscape to find copiers. I would use the batch search feature in Copyscape. You can file DMCA requests with Google to get that content taken down. You can maintain an accurate sitemap in Search Console. Your Search Console sitemap has to be accurate. It has to be accurate because every time there's a mistake in the sitemap, Google's not going to trust it anymore. That's the problem. So if you ever, and this is coming straight from Google, if you ever have a mistake or a lie in your sitemap, they won't trust it anymore. But if you have it, if it's accurate and correct every time they check it, then they will trust the sitemap and they will crawl your site to the maximal speed they would allow a site of your authority and your size and your speed to be crawled anyway. Or finally, just rewrite the content. Especially if it poorly performs, you can add in videos and images. You can add a did you know kind of factoid in the middle of the content, that kind of like a call out that has the facts and stuff like that. That could make the content even better, and then it wouldn't be duplicated either. Okay, the bad merchant algorithm. This guy looks like my uncle who sells cars. The bad merchant penalty or filter. This is used to check sentiment analysis of e-commerce sites. So basically, they go out there and they can determine if people are speaking favorably about your site or people are speaking unfavorably about your site. And if the overwhelming amount of people, the overwhelming sentiment for your site is negative, the bad merchant algorithm is going to demote you. How do you beat it? Well, don't have overwhelming bad sentiment out there about you. That's the best way to beat it. Make sure all of your off-site ratings and reviews are good. You want to delete any bad reviews from the Better Business Bureau, that stupid rip-off report site, scam sites, or change your domain name. So I know it's pretty drastic, but if you have, and I see it all the time, people come to me and if you type in their, whatever their name is, XYZ space reviews in Google, bad ratings from the Better Business Bureau and rip-off report and scam sites, aplenty pop up and are completely populating that second page. That's a ranking problem for them. They have to do whatever they need to do. And it's not a matter of doing negative SEO on these sites. It's not a matter of doing reputation management and trying to put little blogs up there to get them out of view. It's not only that people see them and don't click on your site, which is a problem, and because brand searches and click-through rate is a ranking factor, it is going to be a problem for your rankings. But it's because Google reads these sites and generates and understands the sentiment of these sites talking about you negatively, and that's the problem. Now it's got to be it's got to be the majority, the overwhelming majority. John Mueller has said. He said over 50%. So if it's just one or two bad reviews, but everyone else thinks you're great, that's not a problem. But if there's tons of sites that think you're terrible, I guarantee that's a problem. You've got to pay them off. You got to do whatever you need to do for these stupid sites. Anyone else who's dealt with rip-off report knows they're terrible. It's just it is extortion. It is awful. It's just extortion is what it is. And I have some political contacts in the American political body, and I know that this is actually in front of them right now, and they're looking at changing the American laws, which is where rip-off report is, and so that'd be the way to get the crowbar to make them change. And if you can't do that, you do have to change your domain name because it is going to be a problem. And if you have such a bad reputation out there, you might want to change your brand and your domain name and your business name anyway, because apparently you've pissed some customers off. And the next is negative SEO. Ba, 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 ba. I'm afraid that negative SEO is still here, and there are many kinds of negative SEO. There's not just link-based negative SEO, there's a ton of different kinds of negative SEO. Because Google has made demoting algorithms, it's even easier to do negative SEO, although they do try and take some protections against it, to their credit. I will explain. So the first kind we'll talk about is the kind that everyone knows. It's link-based negative SEO. You want to spam like it was 2008. So you want to make a bunch of, if they make a bunch of backlinks against you, that say red apples, red apples, red apples, red apples. Click here. That's going to be a problem. Penguin 3 picked it up, and Matt Cutts admitted to me before he quit. I had a private conversation with Matt Cutts, and he admitted to me that Penguin would. He fully admitted, full stock. He said, "Yep." He said, "Yep." Penguin picked up negative SEO. There's nothing they can do about it. And by the way, that's the reason why the Penguin, this next Penguin 5 that's coming out, the real-time one, is taking such a long time, is because they're trying to reduce the incidence of negative SEO. That's the reason why. And I think Gary, I think his last name is pronounced Ilish. European people, if I'm wrong, please correct me, but I believe his last name is pronounced Ilish. He also works with, like, John Mueller in the Zurich office there, I believe. And he admitted that Penguin was easy to do to start, but then to try and get the fine details to work out, that's difficult. And I think the fine details are negative SEO. There's other kinds of negative SEO, however. There's tons. You can report them to John Mueller or the spam form. So if hypothetically speaking, if someone wanted to negative SEO somebody else, all they have to do is go onto these John Mueller Hangouts for a few months, make friends with John Mueller, and then say, hey, these websites are doing bad things, and give them to John Mueller. And I've seen those sites get taken out, and/or put them in the spam form. As we heard earlier, they take action on the vast majority of those. So put them in the spam form, and you'll get in trouble. You can do, someone trying to do negative SEO can, hypothetically, again, I'm speaking hypothetically here, I'm not telling you to go do negative SEO. Hypothetically, you can do a direct denial of service or a DOS attack to try and make the server respond with a 500 level error, a server response error. If you do that too much on too much of the site over a 24-hour period, they will drop that site from the rankings. And I have a good friend who works in the e-commerce space. His name is Ted Kubitis, and he has to fight with this all the time. People are doing negative SEO against his sites, and he can prove that the pages do not come back where they used to rank. They used to rank on position 5, and they come back, they rank position 8 or 9, or even off page 1. So it is a terrible, terrible negative SEO exploit. You have to invest in a really good server farm and have really good server people to protect yourself against it. You can make thousands of fake URLs on their site by making keyword links. So if I make a bunch of links to URLs that don't exist, but I just use the URL parameter, but their server is responding 200 on those URL parameters, then I can, on like a 100-page site, I can make 10 or 20,000 Viagra pages, or I can make 10 or 20,000, redapples.com/? Equals, whatever, Viagra or whatever kind of links, Viagra 1, Viagra 2, Viagra 3, all the way counting up to 20,000, and I can insert these spammy keywords on their website, and if their server responds 200, Google can't tell the difference of whether that page is supposed to be there or not. And so how do you protect yourself against that? This is where you should have a canonical. You need to have a rel canonical on all your pages that don't point to the URL parameter, that point back to the original canonical page. And then that will just consolidate all that link juice onto that page, and then all their links they're building to you will probably help. You can make bad reviews about them, up on ripoff report, like I talked about. You can attack their backlinks. You can find their most powerful backlinks. I don't think backlinks is that big of a signal anymore. But if they have some links from, like, the New York Times, that's a good signal. So if they have links from a really authoritative website, you call up that website and you say, oh, these guys, Google is gonna give you a penalty if you keep linking to these guys, or you give them some kind of you send them a fake cease and desist from a fake lawyer, and get them to take those backlinks down. You can scrape their articles and put them on authoritative sites, like I talked about. You can go into their comments in the posts, and you can fake spammy comments. You can and fake bad posts talking about how terrible they are, and adding in keywords. Like this Red Apples page is great. I bought Red Apples from this Red Apples page, and Red Apples are fantastic. Red Apples, my name is Red Apples. You add keyword stuffing onto their page without them knowing about it. If they don't have any good protections on their comments and posts, you just fire up, Scrapebox and just litter their comments with all these keywords. You can fake bad users. I tested this years ago and it didn't work, but it looks like Google's picking up more and more user actions, means that the opportunity for us to fake bad users more and more and more. So that is a possibility. At the very least, you can confuse their analytics. You can't tell what pages are actually bad and Google is actually hitting you for because you blend in thousands of bad users with their couple hundred good users. You can't tell what they should be working on or not. And I'm afraid lots more. There's tons of negative SEO possibilities out there. So how do you protect yourself against that? Well, the best way is to don't just satisfy your users. You have to amaze them. The best way to be healthy enough not to run afoul of any of these diseases of negative SEO is to be super amazing and satisfy your users and amaze them. And remember, if you have an older domain that's been doing ye olde SEO tactics, buying links and adding keywords and stuff like that, just from the fact that that's what you used to have to do to rank, you are now more susceptible to negative SEO. So I would consider, even if you're ranking, I would consider sub-branding. Get a subdomain going with a new website, or even make a whole new domain with a whole new business name and put that up there and get that ranking now too, because it increases your protection, right? You don't want to have all your eggs in one basket. You want to put some eggs in another basket as much as possible. The more websites you have, the more, assuming you can afford to do this monetarily, the more protection you have. And finally, you want to be ranking on the signals your competitors don't know about or can't get access to, right? You don't want to be relying on the signals of yesteryear, like links and stuff like that, because everyone knows about those signals. And again, I don't really think those old signals really help you that much anymore. But if you're just solely relying on those and you're managing to get some rankings on those, that is what your competitor can attack you for. For example, I have a website that's running, it's ranking with 0 links. It has 0 links. You can see the example of it in my 2015 SEO course. I'll type that into the chat here. So it's in the chat there. You can check it out. This website is ranking for competitive queries on 0 links. And I can see in my backlink profile when somebody tried to make backlinks to my site, tried to do negative SEO to my site, and all they did was help it rank because the site didn't have any links yet. But it was still ranking page 1, and they couldn't figure out how. And I'm telling you how. It's because of all the stuff I said earlier that I'm about to mention again. This stuff here, in fact. This is the stuff that site that was ranking on page 1 for competitive queries, like search queries that have like 20,000 impressions each. I was ranking for that with 0 links because I had all this stuff instead. I had topical references. I have people mentioning my URL, mentioning my brand. I have lots of social shares. My stuff's going, not super viral, but a little bit viral. I have brand searches, people looking exactly for me and clicking on me with a very high click-through rate. This is probably how it's ranking alone, is on that. And my social profile's got real, legitimate, organic people talking about the site, loving what I do. And I have ratings and reviews pointing to the site. The site is awesome. It's super fast, has a super high conversion rate, and I have all the keywords in the right places with no pogo sticking. So that, in a nutshell, is my don't do list, my demoter list. If you have any questions at all, and I'll answer all your questions now in the Hangout, but if you want to email me off camera and ask me questions, by all means, there's my email address, joshbachynski@gmail.com. And if you need an SEO audit or a correlation report for your competition to see what they're doing or any kind of SEO help at all, by all means, please email me. So, now you guys are still here.
Yeah.
I'm still here. Yay.
We didn't go anywhere. Riz said he had to go. Okay, and he wanted to. He likes LinkedIn, so he wants to get connected on LinkedIn. We have a few questions. If you look through, we have a few questions. I think Mark had a question. Mark, if you can actually show the question if you want.
It was about the duplicate content. So if you were to post on medium.com and you put your content on there, and then someone took that content from that site and then try and put it on their blog or whatnot, would Google see the medium as more authoritative or not?
They might. It all depends on how authoritative the site is, how often they crawl it, and how much they trust it / how high quality it is, and whether or not it's the kind of content that they would publish on a regular basis. Like they know this site is about cars. They published another car article. They always do it on a Friday with that author name, and they crawl it right away. So they get a good idea that this is probably your content, and even if it gets scraped, they may not believe it.
Okay, guys. Do we have more questions, guys? Who are watching us? I can use comments and type your questions in there. We have another question, but it was very particular. You can find and if you want to answer, because it's particular websites and why. The question is kind of funny. It says rank 0. Probably somebody is. You can see it's up there. Yeah.
Yeah, I see it. Do you want me to answer these questions up here?
Just generally, yeah.
Sure. So there's one that's about a specific site. I don't have time to look at that particular site right now, but Rizvan, by all means, email me and I'll take a look at it.
Rizvan tried to answer it up at his knowledge. Somebody asking about this carbon social club. The question says it's not ranking, and it says 0 rank, which is obviously somebody's mixing up page rank and ranking, I guess. Am I correct?
Yeah. So I mean, someone goes on to say that it's not ranking because it has no keywords in the title in H1, and so yeah, keywords are still important. On-page keywords are even more important in 2016 than they have been in previous years. That really tells RankBrain what that page is about. It really tells our algorithms what that page is about, or Hummingbird what that page is about. So yeah, it's still important. As I said, you want to have that keyword preferably in the URL and the page name, not in the domain name, preferably in the page name. That has the highest correlation with rankings, because I've done all the correlation studies on this stuff as well. If you check out my first presentation I did for Anton. And you want to have it in the title, possibly, although the page name is best, and in the level 1 heading at the top to tell Google what this page is about, and once or twice in the content. Having a higher keyword density in the content seems to help you a bit until you get to a point where you're over threshold, whatever that threshold is, and you drop off. The correlations for ranking drop off sharply. So I would not go stuffing keywords in there. I would just talk about the topic naturally. And however many times you mention it naturally is good, and you don't need to add in extra keywords in there.
Okay, guys, if we do have more questions, just shoot now because we're gonna it's 1 hour 10 minutes or something, so it's we're both finishing. And now, if you do have,
if I may,
sure.
I have a client that had, I mean, I think is the.
It's extreme echo. We can't really read you.
Oh, sorry. Is it okay now?
I can hear you fine.
So, okay. The site is like really old, and I think it's trustworthy, but it still has links like from stuff you called or John Mueller called it common resources on the subject, like so would you think, I mean, these links are up from, I don't know what, 2003 or something. Would you suggest that I try to remove them?
No. Why would you? Because so here's the thing about links. It's like smoking cigarettes. You don't go cutting out your lungs before a diagnosis of lung cancer. You should stop smoking cigarettes right now, but you shouldn't worry about the cigarettes you smoked in previous years. There's no evidence to suggest that you can do anything about it right now in SEO terms. When you only want to use a disavow file after you get the manual penalty. and you only use a disavow file to show, hey, I couldn't delete these links. I contacted these webmasters 4 or 5 times. They wouldn't respond to me, or they asked me to pay to have them removed. I don't have any money. Please, 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 Google. I'll never do it again. Blah, 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 blah. So no. Now, I might change my tune. When this new Penguin comes out, I'm going to do lots of research on it, as you can imagine. And if I see that the disavow file has any positive effect at all, I'll change my tune right then and there. But as of this moment, there's no evidence to suggest the disavow file helps. And no, you don't need to delete any links. You don't even need to look at your links or worry about your links. They're probably all good, and they're probably all helping you. If the links were going to hurt you, they probably would have already, right? Links as a signal are going down in importance. So Google is not going to crank up the aggressiveness of the algorithm, in theory. In theory, because they're getting less important and Google has more and more better signals to rank off of, the Penguin is, if they were going to hit you for links, they would have already, right? The previous Penguins would have hit you already because they would have had a wider net because links would have been more important. Now that links are less important in ranking, it's going to be, unless you're like super spammy, it's not even going to touch you. At least this is my hope. This is my opinion. The fact they're taking so long to release it could be a counter argument to that, because they're seeing too much negative SEO. They're seeing too many edge cases they don't like, and so they're tweaking the number. But I would just leave it alone. I mean, if they're gonna hit you for links already, they probably would have already. Now, unless you have a site that has been having ranking trouble, that should be ranking as not, well then your links could be a part of the problem. And yes, that would need to be addressed. But all things being equal, if you have a normal site that's probably ranking fine or probably doesn't have any problems, don't go deleting your backlinks. It's probably quality. Quality is the biggest issue. User metrics is the biggest issue for websites these days. I do SEO audits for a living, and I do, at least one a day. Again and again and again, 80 to 90% of the time, what I see is terrible conversion rates, terrible bounce rates, terrible internal bounce rates, terrible click-through rate. We improve all those things, they rank better, period. Oh, and they sell more, and they make more money because I also improve their conversion rates. So we win on both fronts.
You do have a question in the chat from Pranit, particular about Vimeo, and I guess it's going to be the last one because, yeah, we have to read it out loud. Sure.
The question is, how can we delete Vimeo 404 page links if they are still ranking higher on Google search engine? If they're a 404 page from Vimeo, Google is going to get rid of those out of their search index very quickly. They're going to visit it a couple times and they're going to remove it. So if you're saying, how do I delete links on a Vimeo page to my website that is now a 404 page, you don't have to. If this is a 404 page, it is deleted. That link's deleted already. It doesn't exist anymore in Google's index. So 404 pages moot the problem. There's no problem. If it's a 404 page, it's gone. It's out of Google's index as far as they're concerned. They're going to visit it 2 or 3 times, but basically it's out of their index. Whether Search Console keeps warning you about it, it doesn't matter. That's just Search Console. As far as Google's index is concerned, if it's a 404 page, they've already forgotten about it.
Okay, I do have another question. I'm gonna, okay. From Liam, I don't know, it's the same, Liam, you owe $5, probably. I don't know if you paid. Who guessed the picture last time, if you remember? Okay.
Okay, the next question is, AMP will likely gain more traction in Google search soon, which will annoy me. My carefully crafted, fast, and responsive sites will suffer purely because I've decided not to tie myself with Google's proprietary HTML and restrictive policy regarding JS, HTML forms, etc. Thoughts? Question mark. For those of you who don't know, AMP stands for Accelerated Mobile Pages. I believe that's what it stands for. It is a proprietary new form of XML or HTML, a web language that Google and is mainly supporting and promoting as the new technological thing to do for your mobile pages. What this person is talking about is that even though it appears that your pages are served on your own website, they're not served on your own website anymore. They are actually taken off of your website. You make an AMP, so it's a whole different website. Like you have your HTML site, then you have your AMP site. AMP is a sibling of HTML, and all your pages you would have duplicate pages, right? And all your AMP pages, they will take all those pages and they will scrape them and put them on their own servers to serve them super fast, under the proviso that they can serve them super fast. And they do have, it is a proprietary HTML format. It's Google's format. And it is that they do have a restrictive policy regarding JavaScript, regarding ads, regarding everything you can design there and everything you can do there, all under the argument that it's faster for the end user. My thoughts is, and I'm going to try and say this delicately, I think it's crap. It's another attempt for Google to carve out and take over a portion of the internet. They've done a complete 180 from the past of thinking the internet is democratic, and now they think it's an anarchy that they can take control of, and they should take control of because they're better than everybody else and they're moral, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's a clandestine attempt to take over more of the internet. And under the auspices of doing something good for the user, it is a hassle for webmasters. Now you've spent all this time and all this money to make a good responsive site, and now you also need to go make an AMP site, because they will eventually give AMP sites a boost. That is inevitable. So unless it's so poorly received that nobody does it, and then they'll just abandon it. So I'm not doing it yet. I'm not telling anyone to do it yet. I'm holding out to see if it could carry through to completion. But if it is, you're going to have little choice but to do it, unless you have such a high quality site that it will always outrank any boost they give for speed. So it will cost you. It's a six in one hand, half dozen in the other. On the one hand, you could have a very fast responsive site, which is very high quality, has good conversion rates and good usage metrics, and you will be able to compete with the AMP pages. On the other hand, you can go to an AMP page, but the question is, well, then how do you monetize it, right? The question is, how do you monetize this page? Because on the flip side, there's a lot of spammers out there who have mobile sites where, oh, I don't know, they size their tap targets in such a way where if you're trying to click something, you click on the AdSense, and you get a bunch of AdSense fraud. So it's a two-way street. That's another part of the reason why Google is trying to bring AMP out, so that you can't do this anymore. So only they can make money by advertising to people, and no one else can make money by advertising to people, whether they're doing so fairly or not. So those are my thoughts. I was asked for my thoughts, and so I gave them. But I wouldn't convert over to it quite yet. We need to see if everyone's going to adopt it.
Well, we have another question, but the question is how can we improve our conversion rate?
Sure.
I guess it's for 1 hour. We need 1 hour to really find it out.
Well, I can give a quick answer to that.
Okay.
So you need to do two things. To improve your conversion, it's simple sales. You need to build value and remove objections, right? Essentially, making a conversion is making a sale. So you need to build value and remove objections. The way you do that on a web page.
On philosophy, isn't it?
Sorry?
You got a PhD on philosophy. I can hear you. It's a philosophical answer. Yeah.
This is true. I used to teach business courses in university, so I'll always bring it back to business theory, as you should. Now, how do you do that on a web page? Well, there's two hurdles. There's two main objection spheres on a web page. Is what they don't like what you're saying, and they don't like how you're saying it. Right? And in other words, they don't like what you're presenting, or they don't like how you present it. So you need to improve how you present it. It needs to be fast, sexy, good-looking. You need to use design psychology for left to right readers or right to left readers, depending on where you are, to have the call to action button in the right place. You need to have a call to action button. And then what you're saying, they need to like it. You need to have good prices. You need to have good you need to build value. You have to have good sales value propositions. My red apples are the best. They're the top in 2016. They're only $5 cheaper than everyone else. There's no risk to you buying. I have a 3-year money-back guarantee. buy now. So you need to do those things, both present it well and have a good product presented in the best way, and you will improve conversions. And how do you tell if you're missing that? You need to look in your Google Analytics, in the in-page analytics. You need to check your user flow to see where people are flowing on your website, and then you need to check your in-page analytics to see where they click. You can make educated guesses as to how well you're doing. Boom! I can answer any question.
Yeah, great, but not today, not tonight. Yeah, it's already 1 hour and 20 to 23 minutes. I guess we have to say thank you very much, Josh. It was very interesting, as always is. And guys, if you have questions to Josh, you can send. He put his email, so you can email him. You can send it to us. You can use our Q&A on our page. We have thousands of ways you can use it. Tomorrow we have Google Q&A. We have Google Q&A tomorrow. It has nothing to do with what we're talking now, but tomorrow, don't miss it. It's a Google Q&A. Unfortunately, Bill Slavsky won't be there. Yeah, and but the rest of them are confirmed. So Amon Jones, Eric Enge, and Ren Fishkin versus I'm not sure Google senior strategist Andrei Lipasov, or maybe together. We'll see tomorrow at very late. Well, much later than today, in order to adjust to American audience. Okay, don't miss it. Thank you very much, Josh. And you remember, Andrei personally invited you for May session. So in 2 months' time, you'll be there, hopefully as well. Okay, thank you everybody who were watching us. It was a long, as usual with Josh, a long marathon. But today, nobody get. Yeah, Josh was stay with us. Alliance didn't take him like a week ago. Okay, thank you guys who were with us. Thank you, Anver. Thank you, Mark. Riz already gone. Okay, thank you very much, guys, everybody. Thank you, and goodbye.